construction never ends. There's always something or the other.
The reality, but it's actually a meme at this point.
They started a bridge on one end and the other end, and the way they built it, the bridges never connected at all.
Yeah, Mumbai is on another level.
You know what they say? Desperate times call for.
Two immigrants comparing Mumbai and Toronto.
From dug up roads and transit delays,
To wild weather swings and food that feels like home, both cities are chaos and comfort all at once.
if you've been there or you're there, this one's for you.
This is Desperate Times.
Hey guys, welcome back to Desperate Times podcast. I'm Varun.
And I'm Sakshi.
And this episode, as we're filming it, it is on a Friday, and it is our 13th episode. It's not Friday the 13th, it's not exactly that, which is why we're not exactly going to be going the spooky route.
But we are going down the chaotic route, which means that, as one of y'all mentioned, I'll just say it. Simran, thanks for your suggestion. We're going to touch on what you mentioned, comparing two chaotic cities to construction filled cities. That is Mumbai, where Varun and I both grew up, right from infancy, and then Toronto, where I have lived for the past 3 years, and Varun keeps visiting often.
Yeah, as you saw, there were previous two episodes that I was in Toronto and we filmed them together. So yeah, I have visited it plenty.
And if you haven't watched those episodes, you can watch them over here. We'll link both those episodes. One's about Toronto and the other's about Montreal. But coming back to both of these cities and starting with the construction. Now, we both know these cities, at least people who've lived in Mumbai and know about Toronto. These both are construction heavy cities, as Simran rightly mentioned. But what
Yep.
makes them construction heavy is not just the condos and buildings, but it's also the transit and the constant repairs that they keep having about the roads. Again, we've spoken about this before, but since we're comparing Mumbai and Toronto, Varun is going to speak on Mumbai's side today, and
Team
I'll
Mumbai.
speak on Toronto's side. Although I would have wished to be Mumbai too, it's just that I
You're
haven't been there in some time now, so I don't think I can speak all that well about it
but
as
you're
it
still
currently
technically both,
stands.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about construction and Mumbai, as we briefly mentioned, Toronto and Mumbai both are construction heavy cities. Mumbai, especially, I feel like construction at this point in time, from what I've known most recently, construction never ends. There's always something or the other. Sometimes they're good projects that they have, sometimes not great. I have to give a special mention to the worst bridge ever built, which is the Gokle Bridge. I don't
Oh
understand how
gosh.
they employed engineers for that. For those who have no context to Mumbai, they started a bridge on one end and the other end, and the way they built it, the bridges never connected at all. So
Wait,
that
what?
bridge
I
is
what? I thought they completed that project because I read that they opened
no,
it this year.
no. Oh, they you think they've redone it? Because from what I knew
Yeah.
last, the Gokle Bridge had never connected.
No, they did, and they did connect it. I saw that it opened. Yeah,
Okay,
this
that
year.
is
But that is wild to me because that bridge did collapse, and that's the reason that they redid it. Otherwise, I don't think they would have touched it, to be honest.
hmm. But
Right?
yeah,
That like a
construction
part
is
of that
just
bridge
forever.
fell.
I think so. I don't entirely remember. If you're from Mumbai right now and watching this, put it down in the comments. Let us know because I'm probably missing some information. Yeah. But yeah, the construction is just endless. And Mumbai Metro, it's a good thing that they're building those up right now. It's gonna, and from what I've seen when I went back in January, the connectivity is gonna be really, really good because they've picked like some really good spots to connect the city to from one place to another. But that
Yeah.
project just seems endless at this point. I hope they've like, and I know they started opening it up in phases, but
They did, and I have some information to share on that. I'm not sure if you've seen those memes. Not memes, it's the reality, to be honest, but it could honestly be a meme. So there are
mm,
different colors of each metro line, right? So there's this one called the Aqua Line, and
mm-hmm.
come monsoon, Mumbai, honestly, it should be built for monsoon, but I don't think it is because every time it starts flooding, and that's exactly what happened with Aqua Line. The
Yeah,
irony
Aqualine is
is,
a joke writing itself.
right, exactly. So it's the reality, but it's actually a meme at this point because come monsoon, the Aqualine stations were all flooded. So we're talking construction, but which part of that construction is actually good? What good is it doing if the stations are flooded? And this is a metro station,
Mm-hmm.
Aqualine, literally underwater.
Yeah, checks out. Sounds about right for the city.
compare that to Toronto, I don't think we've had a whole lot of floods here. Like there have been flash floods here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
never really affecting the transit, I want to say. But yeah, the situation here with construction is not great either. As I'd mentioned in the last episode, the Eglinton LRT, which is in
Mm-hmm.
building for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
it's not open yet. I think they're opening this fall, but who knows, they might push that again. And at this point,
That's
that
insane.
project, if it didn't exist, we would have lesser traffic than what we do right now. So is it helping or is it harming? I have no clue.
That is insane. And just on a quick side note here, I face the same issues here in Montreal as well because St. Catherine Street, for those who know of it, it's been 3 years of me having moved here now. That street is just permanently broken down. They opened it for like maybe 5 days, but then it's just broken down again and it's back in under construction.
Oh gosh.
So
Yeah, that's Queen Street here in Toronto. Like so many similarities, I feel that way because there's the Ontario line too, guys, that's building. So they've broken up Queen Street. The streetcars are diverting. It's been 2.5 years and it's going to go
mhm.
on for another 5 years.
Damn, but I know for sure that in Mumbai, for because of all of the construction, a lot of people tend to fall sick very often because the
Oh,
dust
yeah.
is just constantly in the air. Is that something that you face in Toronto as well? Do you feel like it's a very dusty city?
It's I mean, I live in downtown, so we're close to some of the constructions, and I feel that's why we have a lot of dust. But I don't think it's as much as Mumbai, just because it's
Mm.
not just the construction in Mumbai that is causing a lot of dust. I feel it's a lot of traffic, and although Toronto gets traffic and people are like, oh my god, traffic, I don't think the traffic can ever compare to Mumbai traffic.
And it's insane that Mumbai has that much traffic. I mean, of course, talking about population for a little bit here,
Yep.
we did a quick comparison before we could start filming this video, and a city like Toronto has, what did you say, how much population now?
3 million. That was back in 2022. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Versus
then
Mumbai, which is at almost 22 to 23 million
in
population.
2023, so it's gone up for sure.
100%. So yeah, with that volume or what that density of population out there, in some ways it kind of makes sense for Mumbai traffic to be really, really bad compared to Toronto. But in general, it's not just street traffic for Mumbai, it's also so much
Mm-mm.
in terms of the local trains. Like
Yeah.
that experience, and again, we can compare what TTC is like and what Mumbai local trains are like. But in Mumbai local trains, if you happen to just not remember that you're supposed to get off on that stop, forget about it. You're not going to be able to get off. People are going
Yeah.
to just completely block you from getting off because that's how packed it is. Like you're literally breathing on each other's shoulders, kind of
And
packed.
and good luck if you've gotten on a Virar train and you have to get down at Andheri, because you're not getting
Mm-hmm.
down at Andheri, you're getting out straight at Virar. There's
Yeah,
no way you're getting off.
been there, made that mistake. I was not allowed to get off, but then thankfully there were like a few people who just let me get off one stop after Andheri somehow. But
And
it's a pretty bad experience.
yeah, and this is just a Mumbai reference for all of y'all that don't know. We'll plug in a picture here so y'all can see how crowded the Mumbai locals are. And it's less than ideal, but for a city that never sleeps, is what they say for Mumbai. The local
Mm,
train is like a lifeline. And I mean, between the 21 million people that are there, the local train is like the most popular way for people to travel and commute, and it's
mm-hmm.
supposed to be quicker than other ways, but sometimes it can disappoint you, or if you have to miss trains, like me as a person would just be like, no, no, it's too crowded, I'll take the next one, and I'd rather
Mm-hmm.
get late than go in that local train. But now I imagine
Yeah.
about it when I get into TTC here, and it's not as crowded, but even on some days that it is more crowded than it usually is, I'm like, oh, it's too crowded, it's too crowded. And then I think, how did I travel in the Mumbai local and I can't get in a crowded streetcar or a TTC here? Like, it's insane.
I think that has a lot to do with just how much people around here are used to giving each other space and not literally being in like stuck to each other. It's almost uncomfortable to have that experience here. I will say I have had that experience sometimes in the Montreal metro here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But in Mumbai, while you call it the lifeline of the city, and agreeably so, it possibly is, but because of how packed it is, it's also a hazard to people, not from a health point of view, but also from a safety point of view.
Yeah,
Because
for
there are
sure.
so many stories we hear every single year, and probably every week, every few weeks here and there, of people just like hanging on the side of the train and just falling off, leading to terrible, terrible, terrible accidents. So
And it's
from a
not a
safety concern point of view, it's bad.
and it's not just a every week kind of scenario, it's a everyday kind of scenario, but it also depends on how many of those cases get reported versus how many
Mm-hmm.
are just not known. And it's kind of sad the way it is. I mean, that's why the metros were built, but clearly those are not at 100% functioning capacity, the way they were built. And although Mumbai is trying to improve itself,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of shoddy work, is what I am seeing and hearing from people. So while they're like, oh my god, this is building and that is building, and it's supposed to be like the financial capital of India, and in
Mm-hmm.
some ways it is more developed and more like faster and better than other cities in
Mm-hmm.
India. If we compare it to something like Toronto, there are pros and cons, right? Like, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
we're both sitting here and having this discussion, letting you all know
Mm-hmm.
of what we think and what we've lived through in Mumbai and now in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that, I mean, for those obviously who don't have context to Mumbai, and you rightly mentioned it is the city that never sleeps. It's ever moving, and there's constantly going to be people all the time. So, from a safety point of view, in terms of just getting around the city compared to a lot of other cities in India, it is one of the safer cities.
For
But
sure.
in terms of pace, comparing Mumbai and Toronto, would you say that they're similar in their pace, or is it vastly different?
Yeah, I want to say so. Like in Mumbai, I lived in the suburbs, and honestly, the suburbs are kind of the heart of the city as well in Mumbai, unlike here in Toronto, where the suburbs are like from a little bit outside, a little slower living, and more
Mm-hmm.
space. And while we were talking about space, another thing comes to mind is that in Mumbai, there's not a whole lot of space. Mumbai is essentially an island, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
whereas Toronto, there's a lot of space. There is a lake on one side, but then you have all this land on all other sides, and there's no like there's no shortage of space. So
I mean,
that
yeah, that's for sure. For any city in Canada, I feel like this country is massive in terms of its landmass and is highly underutilized. A lot of it is uninhabitable as well.
yeah.
But from a space point of view, it is definitely much larger than Mumbai.
Exactly. And then you put that into perspective with the population of each city. And then you think about how
Mm-hmm.
much space per person is available. Mumbai does not have that much. So all those safety
Mm-hmm.
hazards and then the traffic and everything, it's all connected. Mumbai
Right.
is taking more than it can. And there's
A
still more
hundred
people
percent.
coming, and it's called the city of dreams or something like that, like opportunities, and people migrate to Mumbai to
Mm-hmm.
look for new avenues. And I mean, similarly for Toronto too, people come here looking for new opportunities because it's a bigger city. In Ontario, at least, like you have Ottawa, you have Toronto, and then maybe you have the Kitchener Waterloo pocket, which is more university town, but now coming into more IT space and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
you think about, oh, back home it used to be like that, but here it is like that. And there's this, yes, there's always be a comparison, but in terms of pace,
Mm-hmm.
I feel it's very similar. But again, it depends from person to person also. Like Mumbai, someone could find a slower living, say, at beachfront, and then in Toronto too, like if you're even in the middle of the city, you could have a slower living. But for me personally, I feel both of them are very similar in pace. And that's the other comparison between Toronto and Mumbai, the waterfront. I won't say it's sea or lake, I'll just say it
Mm.
waterfront.
Fair.
So talking about the waterfronts in both the cities, one is a lake. So Toronto is Lake Ontario, where Toronto is located, the province of Ontario, and it's not salt water; it's a freshwater
Mm-hmm.
lake. But at the same time, these lakes are huge. If I had to compare them, I can't see the end. So Mumbai has the Arabian Sea,
Yep, that's right.
right,
And
and
Mumbai
that's
has the entire coastline is basically beaches. So ideally, we have a bunch of beaches for Mumbai, and that kind of makes it a lot of fun for those who enjoy the beach life. But because of the cleanliness and all, I feel like I've only seen that probably like in the early 2000s, where growing up as
yeah.
a kid, I've gone to the beach a lot. I don't know if the beach culture really exists all too much in Mumbai anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people don't go in the water anymore. Like earlier, as you mentioned, you could in the early 2000s, and I've been there too, like going in the water and playing, and it used to be cleaner back then. But if you talk
Mm-hmm.
about like the sand, that's much cleaner these days than it was in
Yep.
between a couple of years, because now we have beach cleanup projects, and there are like fines for people who litter, and they take it seriously. You'll have cops making the rounds and keeping an eye out.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's more like a casual walk, hang situation, I feel, for Mumbai beaches. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think,
And
Varun?
Juhu Beach also now, I think from what I know, has water sports that have started. So there's a
Really?
lot. Yeah, it's I think right after we left from the city, there's a lot of
Oh,
water sporting that has opened up at
interesting.
Juhu Beach itself, and even I think along like closer to Colaba, not I wouldn't say Colaba, more like the downside of the coast. Also, I know that there used to be a bunch of boating where people would just take their boats and go out on the coast. So those experiences also do exist, which I would say can draw parallels to experiences that you have
For
had in
sure.
Toronto.
Yeah, and with Toronto, I mean, I know the boat experiences in Mumbai too. Like, that's more near Gateway of India, I want to say, and like
Mm-hmm.
basically the harbor area there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's very different because it's salt water, and salt water with fishes and everything. It sounds a little, it smells a little different. And you
Mm-hmm.
have those, like, you have fishermen who go catch fish, come and sell. So the overall smell in Mumbai, being Mumbai, if I had to compare it in terms of temperature, I would say it's much hotter compared to Toronto all year round. We don't
Mm-hmm.
get any snow, right? We're on a sea coast,
Mm-hmm.
so it does get smelly, humid, and stinky. I
But
don't
you
want to
did
say it,
mention
but it does.
but you're saying in terms of heat, Mumbai is hotter, but that
Hmm.
compared to the heat waves that y'all have in Toronto, and just before this, you were telling me about how the past week y'all had heat waves that had temperature feels like 47. I don't think I've seen that in Mumbai at all.
Maybe very rarely, and this was like a rare bout for Toronto too. It happened for the first time since 2016, the heat wave.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the like we've discussed earlier in our weather episode, the heat here feels different. It does not feel like the heat back home. And I honestly think about it. I'm like, we had these temperatures on a daily basis. Like 35,
Yep.
40 is normal for Mumbai summer. But the minute it was that heat wave warning, and it was so hot, and it's just a different kind of heat. Like the sun is more direct or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. It's cleaner air, so it's penetrating more. I have no idea, but yeah, if you don't take care of yourself in these heat waves and you do decide to go out, you're done. You're gonna
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a
yeah.
heat stroke, you're gonna
For
faint,
sure.
something is gonna happen if you're not careful. But coming back to the waterfront thing,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we didn't touch on Toronto, but for Toronto, while you have boating and water sports and everything, because this is a lake, it's also much calmer, unless like the winds are very high speed and then the lake sort of moves with the wind. Whereas in Mumbai, it's a sea, so the sea is going to have waves as is. It's not controllable. I mean, it's only
Yep.
low tide, high tide, and its base is the moon. Here, there's
Mm-hmm.
no such thing. The wind controls the waves in the lake, but there are waves in the lake when it gets too windy. I've been in those waves. I would not recommend it. But you have boating, you have paddle boarding, you have kayaking, so you have all these sports, and you can go swim in the lake. There are some lakes around here that you can even see through. Like even here, when you go to 5 feet, 6 feet, you can see
Mm-hmm.
straight up. It's clear water. It's fresh water. I mean, I would not go as far as saying you can drink it straight out, but a lot of our water is processed through the Niagara Falls, through the Great Lakes. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, two different comparisons between these waters, but kind of similar, because I feel like Toronto having water makes it feel a little closer to Mumbai. I know this is supposed to be a comparison, but yeah.
Another part where both these cities are extremely similar, I think, is cost of living in some ways.
Oh
When we can
yes.
just take rent for comparison in one of these cases. There's something that I keep saying a lot is that had it not been for living with family, I don't think with the kind of salaries that you get at an initial level, I would have never been able to afford living in a city like
No,
Mumbai. Because
that's for
rents up
sure.
there are insane.
I would go even as far as saying that it's more than Toronto for the space that you get, and
Mm-hmm.
or area that you live in. And like Toronto prices are cooling off now, but Mumbai prices don't seem to be cooling down at all. It's
I think
only going higher and higher.
Mumbai's compared more to a city like New York,
New
where
York, correct.
rents are just insane, the apartment sizes are
Yep.
tiny, and the pace of living is again very similar to what it is for you in Toronto. So I feel like those two
Mm-hmm.
cities are, in terms of cost of living and in terms of
Yep.
lifestyle, are
Very
extremely
similar.
similar.
For
Like
sure. And
I know that if it was me living in Mumbai by myself, I think starting salaries back in the day were closer to like 25 to 30,000 a month range ish.
mm-hmm.
And I know for sure if I was looking for rent and looking at rent or just looking for like a one bedroom apartment for myself, that itself would have been probably all my salary and then some more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like there are reasons that there is this it's called PG, and that means paying guest, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically a lot of people just living together, like roommate situation, wherein then the rent is sort of sustainable for each person. So
Mm-hmm.
there might be like what, four people living in a one bed or two bed, and there might be people sharing the living room or the room,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a tiny space. I'm not talking about a big room either. Like it's a tiny space, and people have their understanding that they're here to work. They're gonna go to work
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5 and then just come home to eat and sleep. So that's the compromise that people make. And
I will
like
say that
Varun rightly
culture
said,
does exist in North America also, though, a little bit. Like,
for
there are a
sure.
lot of people who decide to, like, split these apartments to reduce their rent and cost of living and all of that. But would you say it's similar for Toronto in terms of cost of living in general, or no?
I still want to say Mumbai is on the higher side if I have to compare the cost of
Mm-hmm.
living with Toronto. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, Toronto's gotten expensive. Toronto's gotten expensive," and honestly, I didn't realize how expensive Mumbai has also gotten in recent times. Like, I was given a reality check very recently, and I'm like, "Holy shit! If I have to convert these prices into dollars, it's like literally the same as what it's costing here. In fact, some things
Mm-hmm.
were even more expensive back home."
That is
So
for sure.
yeah, and it's like basic needs, right? I'm not even talking about like luxury items. In fact, some of those luxury items are cheaper here, and that's why when people go back, they take all these gifts, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just cheaper to buy from here and then take it versus buy from Mumbai. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, in terms of cost of living, yeah, Mumbai is on another level.
But one place that I will give Mumbai its due credit, and this is not just Mumbai, it's more like all of India, its due credit, is the healthcare system.
Oh
It's
yes.
because it's so decentralized, it's so easy to just walk up to a doctor's
Mm-hmm.
clinic, just sit there for maybe 20 minutes, get your appointment in place.
Yep.
Medication is much cheaper. So, all
Oh
of that
yeah.
from a healthcare point of view, while you'll fall sick more often, and that itself is a different conversation, but to get taken care of and to get the healthcare that you need, it's a lot more accessible in cities in India, Mumbai being one of them.
Yeah.
Versus, I feel like, be it Toronto, be it Montreal, Canada, from what I used to know before moving, I was very proud of its healthcare system for I don't understand what reason, but the first few years of moving to Canada and to moving to Toronto or Montreal, the healthcare system is going to have you fucked over. That is a fact.
It's not as easy. The only, I think, the thing that people are proud about Canadian healthcare is that it's universal, meaning it's paid for already.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have state insurance or just healthcare in general that's free. But mind you, you do pay taxes for those, so
Yep,
it
heavy.
does get compensated somehow. That
Mm-hmm.
said, in cities in India, in Mumbai, you can walk up to literally any specialist's clinic or call them up and book an appointment. You don't need a referral from like a family doctor to
Mm-hmm.
get to a specialist then, and then you have to wait for that specialist for like months on end. You can literally just walk into any diagnostic center as well and be like, hey, I want to do these tests, and then they will do those tests for you. You don't need like a prescription from a doctor to be like, yeah, the doctor's prescribed me these tests and I need to get them done. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. And it's not that
Yeah.
expensive like how it would be when you would walk up to a clinic here and try to get an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Just because there are so many clinics, doctors, and rightly so, our population is such that we need to be supported the same way. So I guess that works out for everyone and it's a win win situation.
For sure, for sure.
And One last thing before we sort of compare these two cities and let you all decide which one you all would pick based on this conversation. The
Mhm.
food in both of these cities. And Varun, do you really think there's one city that is better than the other in terms of food?
I feel like in some ways I prefer Mumbai in terms of its food, but not in every other way. So I will say that Mumbai, in terms of its street food, has quite a good game. All the Delhi people here are going to rush into the comments and being like, "Fuck you, Mumbai! You don't have great street food. What are you talking about?" But
That's not
but
the
but
battle here, guys.
yeah, we're not doing Mumbai Delhi right now. This is Toronto Mumbai. So in terms of street food, Mumbai does have a lot of street food that
For
people
sure.
can enjoy, and a lot of people say that okay, fine, if you go back from Toronto to Mumbai, you're going to fall sick. Street food is not going to suit you. I can attest to the fact that at least for me, that did not happen. So I did quite enjoy the street food each time I did go back to visit Mumbai as well. But how would you compare that to the food in Toronto?
First of all, I'm gonna say that even if I get sick, I don't care. I will eat that food. It doesn't matter. Mumbai street food is a feeling. The taste is one, but compared to Toronto, yes, there are street food. I want to say trucks, food trucks here, not a whole lot of
Mm-hmm.
stalls like we have in Mumbai. But they mainly serve the street food here. That is hot dogs, fries, poutine, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say they are as widely available as you have street food in Mumbai. Like there's like every corner has like a vendor, and you can get anything to eat, and it's a quick bite, and you're on the go. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about not having food available to you if you want a
Mm-hmm.
quick bite and you just don't want to sit and stop somewhere. In Toronto, I think that's an issue. You have to really think about it because
Mm-hmm.
there are not a lot of food street food vendors around here, and there are only
Mm-hmm.
certain pockets of the city that have them.
What I will give to Toronto's credit for sure is that if you're someone who is moving from India to Canada and if you're looking for a city that can give you great Indian food, Toronto is the place for you from everything that I've experienced so far.
And
Like,
I've heard a few
that
more
is
people say
definitely.
this too.
Yeah, we have friends of yours who have compared,
Yep,
like from New York, who had come down to Toronto, and
yep,
they
yeah.
attested to the fact that they had some great Indian food out there as well.
Not just great Indian food, but the accessibility to Indian food was way, way, way more. Like, yes, you get good Indian food in New York too, you get it in Montreal too, but then you have to travel like distances to get that. Versus in Toronto, it's super close by. You can order a delivery even, and it would be here within 30 minutes, at least the way
Mm-hmm.
we're located. Um, but otherwise, too, there's like an Indian restaurant every few kilometers, I want to say, and it's a variety. You'd get South Indian, you can get North Indian, you can even get like some Hakka Chinese, which is like Indian Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
and they're pretty close to the Indian food and momos. Even like there are good momo places too for all you
Ooh,
guys
I
who
haven't seen
miss
any momos
momos.
here in Montreal at all.
Oh, next time you come, we should take you to Momo place here and have you try some. Because yes, there are Tibetan momos, but there are also Indian momos. And all you guys, if you want any recos, comment and I will drop those for you. Um, but comparing again Mumbai with Toronto, I feel like although Mumbai has a lot of good food scene in terms of the variety,
Mm-hmm.
Toronto somehow has more, or maybe I haven't been to Mumbai in quite long and I don't know if they've updated the food scene there, but Toronto being such a multicultural global city, there's literally every cuisine here and they do all of it well.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure, for sure. So that was it for this episode, guys. There's so much more that we can compare between the two cities, but with all of this information that we've given you, we want you to go down in the comments below and tell us which city you would prefer based on this information.
Would you do Mumbai? Would you do Toronto? Comment down below and let us know. And while you're commenting, like, share, subscribe. We're on all the platforms, so we'd appreciate any engagement on any of those platforms. And
Mm-hmm.
until next week, see y'all. Bye.
Bye.